Hello, I hope you're all doing really well. I am going to be talking about the Booker Prize International Longlist. So I thought I would do this as kind of a podcast style video. There are 13 books on the longlist. That's 11 novels and 2 collections of short stories. And I'm going to give you the plot summary of all 13 books and talk about what ones really appeal to me. So leave in the comments what ones really appeal to you. The shortlist will be announced and that will be whittled down from 13 books to 6 books. And that is on the 8th of April, and then the winner is announced on the 20th of May. So let's get straight into the books. First up, we have A Leopard Skin Hat. This is a very short novel. It's only 112 pages and it's a French novel, and it's a story of an intense friendship between the narrator and his close childhood friend, and she suffers from profound psychological disorders. And it does say it's a series of short scenes which paints the portrait of a strong-willed and tormented young woman and the bewildering back and forth between hope and despair involved in such a relationship. I'm very interested in reading this. I'll definitely be giving it a read. It sounds very intriguing because I don't know if is it a romance or is it just the friendship between the two of them. I'll definitely be giving this one a read. We then have On a Woman's Madness, originally published in Dutch. This is about a courageous black woman after 9 days of marriage wants to get a divorce, and her abusive husband will not give her divorce. So she flees back to her hometown, and it's in South America's tropical northeastern coast. And I just liked this bit here where it said, it's about European and post-colonial literature and amid tales of plantation-dwelling snakes, rare orchids and star-crossed lovers. It's also a blistering meditation on the cruelties we inflict on those who disobey. Oh, I'm very interested in this. And the author is the first Surinamese, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, winner of the prestigious Dutch Literature Prize. Very interested to read this. I love this idea also that like she's going against the grain, going against things at the time, and that about how people get punished for that as well, and learning more about that. I'm again interested in reading this one. We then come to one of the short story collections. So on the long list there are 2 short story collections. This one is called Heart Lamp, and the original language it was published in is Kannada, and it's 12 stories which captures the everyday lives of women and girls in Muslim communities in southern India. And the 12 stories were originally published between 1990 and 2023. It's praised for its dry and gentle humour, and these portraits of family and community tensions testify that the author, she worked as a journalist and also campaigned for women's rights for many years. So they're saying this is it weaved into these stories as well. And I just liked this bit here where it said, the grandmothers, the buffoonish mavis and thug brothers, the off-hapless husbands, and the mothers, above all, surviving their feelings at any cost. Ooh, very interesting. And as I'm making this video, I'm looking on the Booker Prize website, but also just Googling the books to see what other people have said about this. This seems really, really interesting. So I will definitely be giving this a read. I'm not really a huge fan of short story collections normally. I've read some amazing short stories. You know, 2 Room 19 is one of the best short stories I've ever read in my whole entire life. One of the best things I've ever read in my whole entire life. So I don't know why I don't get into short stories more, but I will definitely be giving this a read. Next up, we have the novel Perfection that was originally published in Italian, and this sounds so good. This is a sociological novel about the emptiness of contemporary existence. It's about a young couple, they're millennials, and they post a lot of things online, and online their life looks perfect, and they're living the dream in Berlin. In a bright, affordable, plant-filled apartment, their life as digital creatives evolves around slow cooking, Danish furniture, sexual exploitation, and the city's 24-hour power party scene. But all their friends have basically given up on this lifestyle because they have had children and grown up, as it says in the blurb to it. And the couple are very frustrated with this. They're not really fulfilled with their picture perfect life that they post online, and their friends moving away from them and being parents. And I'm guessing they don't want that life. They don't want children themselves. And so their progressive politics around them are kind of crumbling. The things that they do is like boycott uber. They're not really doing anything incredible, never eating tuna. So it's kind of mocking them. I think it's going to be a really funny novel. I just get that kind of sense from it. And so then they become more and more radical. So instead of kind of fitting into society more, they kind of rebel against it because they're so unhappy with their empty existence with modern life, and they don't fit into it by, I'm guessing, wanting to have children like their friends, and so they become more and more extreme maybe within the novel. Obviously I haven't read any of these, so this is just my interpretation of the blurbs, but this sounds really, really fascinating to me. Someone who portrays a perfect life online and is living kind of what many people would find the dream, living in like a beautiful city like Berlin and got a great job, and then how actually everything around them is so empty and they're so unhappy with this and what they're going to do about it. Very intriguing. So far I'm reading every book. I mean, I don't know where I'm getting the time to read these 13 books, but so far I'm reading every book. This one sounds very fascinating to me. We then have Eurotrash, which was originally published in German, and this is about a man who's middle-aged, takes his 80-year-old mother, who's been recently discharged from a mental institute, on a road trip around Switzerland, and they take a cab that they've hired, and they are attempting to give away her money. Now, how she got her, I'm guessing it's family money, is through the arms industry, and her father was into Nazism, it says, and so they feel very uneasy about this money and they're trying to get rid of the money. It's described as a tragicomic, and it's about the absurd semi-autobiographical novel, it says, and it's bitterly funny. It just doesn't appeal to me, to be perfectly honest with you. I might read it and love it, I don't know, but I don't have like the budget to buy every single one of these books, so I won't be reading this, but it still sounds interesting. The tenderness and spite meted out between two people who cannot escape one another. Ooh, interesting, like son and mother dynamic, and then this whole backstory with trying to get rid of this wealth that they are uneasy about. Interesting, but I won't be picking this one up. Next up, we have Under the Eye of the Big Bird. This was originally published in Japanese, and I've already read something from this author. I read Strange Weather in Tokyo, which I loved and adored by this author. This book is very different though. This is a futuristic book set in the distant future when humans are basically extinct and have settled into very small tribes, and the children are made in factories from cells of rabbits and dolphins, and some live by getting their nutrients from water and light like plants do, basically. And the survival of the race depends on interbreeding of these and other alien beings. It says it's about connection, love, reproduction, and evolution will persist among the inhabitants of this faltering new world. Strangely, I don't want to read this. Even though I loved Strange Weather in Tokyo by this author, I won't be picking this up. These kind of things where it's like everyone's gone extinct and then there's aliens. I don't know why. It just sci-fi in this form doesn't appeal to me. But I do quite like sci-fi, but this kind of we're on the verge of extinct and can we make, like artificial wombs and rabbits and dolphins, the cells of them we're using. I just don't believe it, I suppose. And I suppose sci-fi, you don't have to believe it's a fantasy world, isn't it, of its own. You just have to kind of believe in the book, but you don't have to believe that it's something that could actually happen. It's like when people talk about artificial wombs. One day we'll have artificial wombs, and they've already said we're not going to have that. The likelihood of being able to grow a baby from embryo to birth, a full newborn in a machine, is just not within our capabilities of being able to do artificially. And so I just never find it interesting when there's articles written about this topic of can you make a baby outside of a woman's womb? Is that going to be possible in the future? I just find it so far off and so improbable that maybe I don't have a very good imagination. I don't know. Just this whole thing I just find bizarre. And the planet is under the observation and care of what they call the mothers. Not for me. Not for me, to be honest with you. Which is bizarre because I did love Strange Weather in Tokyo. But Strange Weather in Tokyo was not a sci-fi in any kind of way. But yeah, I'm not really interested in this one. We then have another Japanese novel. This is Hunchback, and it's about a woman who she has a congenital muscle disorder, and she writes kind of smutty erotica online. She lives in a care home. She has a curvature of the spine and uses an electric wheelchair and a ventilator, and much of her life is online. So she writes these stories. One day, a male carer who works at the care home reveals that he has read all of her stories, all about the sex, and it says the sex, the dirt, all of that, and he offers her, he calls it an indecent proposal. So I'm guessing he's offering to have sex with her. Maybe she hasn't had sex before, and so maybe he's offering something to do with that. The author themselves is disabled, so I find that quite interesting as well. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. You know me, I love a little interesting odd book. And it's about glimpse into the desire and darkness of a woman placed on humanity's edge. And I do think often in films and media, someone who's disabled is never the love interest. They're always someone's friend within it, and they never get their own love interest story. But why, because someone's in a wheelchair, would they not still want love and physical connection and all of those different things as well? I'm really interested to read this because I like these kind of odd books, and books that also, I've never read a book with this kind of plot. There are a lot of stories where you can go, oh, okay, that's Shirley Valentine, or okay, that's kind of the story of Frankenstein. The story of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen has been played out 1,000,000 times in 1,000,000 contemporary books by now. So I've never read a story from the point of view of someone who's disabled, and it's about sex. I've never read that storyline, and so it will be interesting to see what this one is like. I'll definitely be giving it a read. We then have a French novel. This is the second French novel we have on the long list, and this is called Small Boat. It says November 2021. An inflatable dinghy carrying migrants from France to the UK capsizes in the Channel, causing the deaths of 27 people on board. How and why did it happen? If you don't know, this does happen quite a lot, that people do die making the journey from France to England in boats, trying to get a better life in England. Now, this is narrated from this point of view of no one on the boat, but from the point of view of the woman who took the calls. So there were numerous calls for help. The French authorities wrongly told the migrants they were in British waters and had to call the British authorities for help. So she made that decision. She was involved in that. And so the British authorities didn't rescue them because they weren't in British waters, they were in French waters, and it was the French, sides, the French authorities' fault that they died. It does say also this is a completely fictional account. It's not based on any true story, but this does happen. So this could, if people die in the Channel, you often don't know. Just empty boats will come up on the shore, and they're just like almost like lifeboats, inflatable boats. And you don't know how many people have been on there because no one's witnessed it. And she is accused of failing in her duty. But the narrator, the one that took the calls, she refuses to be held more responsible than others for this disaster. Why should she be more responsible than the sea, than the war, than the crew cries beneath these tragedies? Interesting. I don't think if I'll be reading this. I think this would... I thought it was going to be, I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be the 27 people on board is told from their point of view. And obviously it's not that, it's a completely different novel. But I was thinking, oh, that sounds really interesting when I first heard about this book. But you know me, I mishear. I pick up a book in a charity shop and I misread the back of it, get it home, and then realise it's nothing like that. So I just assumed when it was a book Small Boat and it was about 27 people die trying to make the crossing from France to the UK, that it was told from the 27 people's point of view. I think that would have been really fascinating from their point of view. And I'm sure this would be fascinating from this woman. How does she deal with her guilt, and does she think it's her fault, and does she kind of look into it and see, actually they're trying to use me as a scapegoat maybe, I don't know. But for me personally, this book doesn't really jump out to me. We then come to the most interesting title out of all the long list, which is called Reservoir Bitches. This is a Mexican novel, and it's 13 Mexican women prod the bitch that is life as they fight, sew, cheat, cry, and lie their way through their tangled circumstances. And it's just saying that, life can be a bitch. It's that kind of saying, isn't it? Playing on that. A wickedly linked story collection of gritty, streetwise and wickedly funny fiction from Mexico. So I'm guessing this is the second short story collection. I just liked this when it was like the roundup of stuff. From the all-powerful daughter of a cartel boss to the victim of femicide, from a house full of spinster seamstress to a socialite who supported her political husband by faking indigenous roots. These women spit on their own reduction and invent new ways to survive, telling their stories in bold, unapologetic voices. This sounds interesting. I'm not sure if I will read this. It says it's thriller, but I'm not sure about that if it is thriller. I think it is 13. I just don't really, when there's one story you can kind of think, oh, I'm really interested in that, but because it's only one line, it's really only a few words on each story, daughter of cartel boss, that kind of stuff. I don't really know what to expect from it. So as I said, I haven't got the budget to buy 13 books. These books in England are probably going to be $14.99 each because they are on the long list. So that's going to add up. I can't do maths. We know I can't do maths. What's 13 times 14? It's £182. So I'm not going to be able to read every book. So I just have to pick the ones that really appeal to me the most. And I'll also be moving house during this time as well. Hopefully, if the sale goes through on my house and everything. So this one, I'm probably not going to pick this one up. We then have Solnoid. This is originally published in Romanian, and I've actually never read anything in Romanian before. And this is a diarist's life. So I'm guessing it's going to be in diary entry form, but I'm not sure. I'm just guessing on that one. And it's about spirals into a bizarre existential account of history, philosophy and mathematics. And it's grounded in the reality of the communist Romania. The novel grapples with frightening healthcare, the absurdities of education, struggles of family life, while investigating other universes and forking paths. And it says it's a very surreal book. An anti-death protest movement, society of dream investigators, and all these different things. Nothing about this really jumps out to me, to be honest. So I don't have a lot to say about it. I'm probably not going to pick up this one. It just doesn't immediately jump out to me, which doesn't mean if I read this I would hate it or anything like that. It just, when things just don't really jump at you. So if you've read it, let me know if I should read it. We then have another book that the language was originally published in French, which I know that doesn't mean that the author is French, because many different countries do speak French, don't they? And this one is called There's a Monster Behind the Door, and it's set in 1980s Reunion. And it's a place of high employment and low expectation. And it's about a little girl who her parents are described as sadistic, and she goes to school for salvation. And it says that their downfall is being told by one of their own. And so maybe it's her telling people what they're doing to her. I don't really get it, to be honest with you. It's all very, it's vibrant, ardent life, ready to pounce at the slightest disturbance. It's very, intriguing, but I don't really know enough to get a bite on it to think I want to buy this book. So I probably won't be reading this one, but this does sound, I don't know, because this does sound interesting, but I just don't know enough about it to buy it, so I probably won't read this one. We then have On the Calculation of Volume 1. This was originally published in Danish, and I'm thinking it's sci-fi. It's about a woman who keeps waking up on the same day, and she can't remember the days before it because so much time has passed. So Tara approaches the 365th 18th of November. She can't shake the feeling that somewhere underneath the surface of the day there's a way to escape, and no one really knows what's happening to her or what's going on, and I don't really understand either. Sci-fi and this kind of thing isn't really my genre, and I shouldn't say sci-fi is my genre because I do love some sci-fi things, but this, I don't really get it. I don't know, it doesn't speak to me. And lastly, we have Disappearance, that was originally published in Arabic. And the question of the novel is, what if all the Palestinians in Israel simply disappeared one day? What would happen next? And it's about a man who is haunted by his grandmother's memories of being displaced from Jaffa and becoming a refugee in her homeland. And then one day he wakes up to find all the Palestinians have suddenly vanished. And it's about what happens. And it says the Palestinian question between the stories of our main character and Ariel, which is his grandmother, and are the people of Jaffa and Tel Aviv. Cafe patrons, radio commentators, flower cutters, against whose extraordinary lives these fissures and questions play out. Don't really know what to expect from this one either. This does sound quite intriguing. I don't know how they disappear, because he just wakes up one morning and they're all gone. And so that's why he starts looking into it to go, well, where have they gone? And his grandmother was displaced, and so he's trying to find out what's going on. And also his neighbour and his friend is a liberal Zionist, critical of the military occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, yet faithful to the project of Israel. So I have no idea what to expect from this, to be perfectly honest with you. But this does sound like it's an intriguing, interesting novel. And that is it. That is all 13 books. Tell me what ones spoke to you the most. There were quite a few early on. It was like a whole run of them that really spoke to me, and the ones that I wasn't quite as interested in. But I am intrigued by some of them. The one that I am probably looking forward to the most is Perfection, about this couple who live this perfect life, but what everyone sees as like the social media dream isn't quite the dream, and then it forms them to get like radical and extreme. I don't know, because obviously I haven't read any of these books, so these are just my interpretations of reading the plot summaries. So I may be completely out on what these books are actually about. I don't know. But tell me what one speaks to you the most. Tell me what ones you're going to read. Hunchback seems really interesting to me. A Leopard Skin Hat on A Woman's Madness. There's like quite a lot here that I do want to read. So let me know if you're going to be reading the International Booker Prize, what ones you are going to be reading. And I have waffled on for long enough, so I'm going to end this video here. And tell me if you like these kind of podcasts, voiceover videos. Let me know. And I hope you're having a great day, whatever you're doing. And I'll see you for another video very soon.